February 7, 2019. Senate Commerce Committee, Washington, D.C. Fluorescent lights hummed above polished wood. Senator Richard Blumenthal leaned forward. His voice was sharp.
How much money has the industry committed to supporting independent research?
The telecom executives shifted in their seats. The pause stretched. 1 second, 2, 3. There are no industry-backed studies to my knowledge right now. The senator's response echoed across every 5G debate. So there really is no research ongoing. We are kind of flying blind here as far as health and safety is concerned. But is the blindness the scariest part, or is it what they knew decades ago and chose to ignore? Flying blind while 5G towers went up across America, while new signals reached into homes, schools, bedrooms. But here is what Senator Blumenthal did not know that day. There is a 1996 law that literally stops your town from saying no to a cell tower even if kids are getting nosebleeds. That is the real gag order, and we are going to show you the exact words in just few minutes. Within 24 hours, the telecom industry responded. They cited decades of research. They pointed to international safety standards. But something strange was happening in neighborhoods across America. Small towns, suburbs, cities. The pattern was identical. New 5G tower goes up within days. Headaches within a week. Sleep problems within 2 weeks. Nosebleeds in children. One case keeps appearing in health forums. A suburb near Denver. May 2020. Tower activates. 3 days later, the first headache reports. 5 days later, parents says their kids can't sleep. 7 days later, nosebleeds show up at the school nurse office. I could not verify these specific medical claims, but the timeline appears in multiple communities. Same order, same speed. When families complained to the FCC, they got the same answer. The tower meets every safety standard. So either this is the world's biggest coincidence, or we are measuring the wrong thing. This was not the first time. US Navy scientists exposed monkeys to microwave radiations. The animals showed changes, but their body temperature never went up. They called this the non-thermal effect. It was so strange that mainstream science eventually dismissed it. But think of it this way, they decided a stovetop was the only way to cook a steak, while ignoring that a microwave oven exists. This debate is why your phone is allowed next to your brain today. Moscow. CIA discovers Soviets are beaming microwaves at the US Embassy. Staff report headaches, fatigue, memory problems. Operation Pandora. The CIA's secret investigation documented everything. The Soviets made their safety limits 1,000 times stricter than America's. Their scientists believed the non-thermal evidence was real. Was this paranoia? Or did they know something we chose to forget? The World Health Organization's Cancer Research Agency evaluated cell phone radiation. Their decision, Group 2B, possibly causes cancer. Group 2B does not mean proven danger. It means we are not sure. There is no risk. It is the same category as pickled vegetables and car exhausts. So between 2011 and today, we went from possibly causes cancer to rolling out the most advanced wireless network in history. The answer is not just about safety. It is about a 1996 law that literally bans your local town from fighting a cell tower, even if they have got nosebleed reports. That is the real gag order, and we will show you the exact text in a few minutes. Let us jump off the spreadsheets and look at what is actually happening in the real world. 2021 Swiss researchers set up measuring equipment on busy streets in Bern. Real 5G networks, real towers, real people streaming videos and downloading files. At first, nothing unusual, just normal background, radiation from phones and Wi-Fi. Then someone walked past streaming video. The meter spiked. Here is what makes 5G different. It does not spray signals everywhere like older cell towers. It aims a focused beam right at your phone, like the difference between a room light and a flashlight pointed at your face. The Swiss team measured a maximum of 0.064 watts per square meter. The safety limit is 10 watts per square meter. Hold on. Yes, that means it is 99.4 below the limit. But the study's real finding was not the power level, it was the delivery method. The beam was not steady. It pulsed hundreds of times per second, rapidly switching on and off. Remember, those Cold War studies, the ones about non-thermal effects, military researchers found that the rhythm of the pulse mattered more than the raw power. They saw a delivery system perfectly designed to interact with those forgotten non-thermal effects. That is what makes this complicated. The FCC's position is simple. Radio frequency radiation causes harm through heating. If it does not raise your body temperature by more than 1 degree, it cannot hurt you. Their safety standards come from IEE, the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, endorsed worldwide by ICNIRP. When I looked at the public statements from telecom companies, the message was consistent. Real-world 5G measures at less than 1% of safety limits. Those limits already included 50 times safety margins. The FDA says the same thing. Current limits protect public health. But those safety standards were designed for old broadcast-style radiation from analog cell networks, the regulatory equivalent of a rotary phone in the iPhone era. 5G operates differently, focused beams, rapid pulsing, and that difference is why, according to the government's own research, they found clear evidence of heart tumors in rats exposed to these signals. We need to talk about those rats. 2018, the National Toxicology Program released the most expensive animal study ever done on a cell phone radiation. $30 million, thousands of rats, years of controlled exposure to 2G and 3G signals. The findings: clear evidence of heart tumors in male rats, some evidence of brain tumors. I want you to stop and think about that finding for 5 seconds. Clear evidence is language scientists almost never use. It is the highest level of certainty they gave. Now, context matters. The rats got whole body exposure 9 hours a day for 2 years. That is way more than typical human phone use. The power levels were higher than most people experience. The FDA said the findings could not be applied directly to humans given these conditions. But here is what bothers me. If cancer shows up in mammals from long-term radiofrequency exposure under any conditions, doesn't that deserve more research instead of dismissal? Remember Senator Blumenthal's question in 2019. How much has the industry spent on independent 5G health research? Answer is 0. If the science is settled and 5G is demonstrably safe, why not fund the research to prove it? It costs less than a single Super Bowl commercial. The absence of that funding is the first thing a lawyer would point to. Remember that 1996 law I mentioned. Here is where it gets really important. The Telecommunications Act of 1996, Section 704. This law says local governments cannot reject cell towers based on environmental effects of RF emissions. Your town council legally cannot say no because of health concerns, even if parents are complaining, even if doctors raise alarms, even if there are nosebleed reports from the school. Health cannot be part of the decision. Let this sink in. Think about what this means. The FCC does not do medical research. Their job is managing radio spectrum so devices don't interfere with each other. Local governments are legally banned from considering health. The industry has not funded independent 5G safety studies. So, who exactly is protecting public health? This is why Senator Blumenthal's question hit so hard. He exposed a system where nobody is actually responsible for checking if this technology is safe. We are not flying blind by accident. The law was written this way. Here is what keeps nagging at me. Naval Medical Research Institute scientists documented biological changes in animals exposed to microwaves at levels too low to cause heating. Operation Pandora, the CIA investigated Soviet microwave beams hitting the US Embassy in Moscow. Staff reported headaches, fatigues, memory problems. The Soviets made their safety limits 1,000 times stricter than America's. Their scientists believed the non-thermal evidence was real. Was this paranoia, or did they know something we chose to forget? By the 1980s, Western regulators made a choice, focus only on heating. The reasoning was that non-thermal claims were inconsistent and could not be replicated. That decision shaped every safety standard we use today. But military research raised questions 50 years ago that remain unanswered. Questions about whether the rhythm of pulsing matters more than raw power. Questions about long-term exposure at low levels. We did not resolve those questions. We just stopped asking them. At this point, we have got three possible explanations. Explanation 1. It is all in their heads. The symptoms are psychosomatic. The nocebo effect, when believing something will hurt you, creates real physical symptoms. Stress from pandemic, modern life pressure, nothing to do with towers. The timing is just coincidence. Explanation 2. We are measuring the wrong thing. Some researchers suggest oxidative stress when free radicals damage cells and DNA. Multiple studies shows RF radiation might trigger this, not through heating but through the pulse pattern itself. The mechanism would be the rhythm of the signal. Explanation 3. Both sides are partially right. Maybe the technology is safe according to thermal standards, but those standards don't capture the full picture. Non-thermal effects might exist at levels we have not studied properly. Here is what makes finding the truth so hard. The symptom starts days after tower activation. They follow the same pattern in multiple communities, but we don't have controlled studies to prove causation. And we won't get those studies because nobody is funding them. Here is what we can verify as fact. Real-world 5G measurements stay far below international safety limits. The Swiss study documented this clearly. Government research found clear evidence of tumors in rats exposed long-term to cell phone radiation, though at higher levels than typical human use. A 1996 law legally bans local governments from rejecting towers based on health concern. When asked under oath in 2019, the telecom industry admitted they have funded zero independent 5G health studies. Here is what does not add up. Why did Western regulators stop investigating non-thermal effects while the Soviets keep their limits 1,000 times stricter? Why haven't telecom companies funded independent studies when the cost is less than a Super Bowl commercial? Why are we told the science is settled when the WHO still calls radiofrequency radiation possibly carcinogenic? And here is what haunts this story. The embassy workers in Moscow with unexplained symptoms. The community reports appearing days after tower activation. The biological signal in government studies that suggested something beyond heating. We are told it is psychological, but maybe that is because we have only looked for one type of harm and found exactly what we expected to find. The truth is we don't know, and the system is designed to keep it that way. So where does this leave us? Either the largest technology rollout in history is perfectly safe and decades of oversight have protected us, or we are part of the largest uncontrolled experiment ever conducted, measuring only what is easy to measure while ignoring harder questions. Senator Blumenthal said it, we are flying blind. I want to know what you think, not what you fear, what makes sense based on the evidence. Have you noticed symptoms near new towers? Do you trust current safety standards? Is the lack of industry research concerning, or are existing studies enough? Drop your thoughts in comments, because the truth about 5G won't come from one source. It will come from examining all the evidence together and maybe asking the question, nobody is been willing to fund. And remember, 6G is on the corner.